We'll literally show you the Korea you've been wanting to see.
Time to experience the nooks and crannies of Korea's with your own 2 feet on
K-Patch
with Cedric.
It is time for Cedric to come in with his videos from a certain topic that we dispatched him on, hence the name K-Patch, and all things K are now officially Korean and cannot mean anything else. I think that's now the new Korean wave law. And said he's in to brighten up our Monday. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Did you have a good weekend and a good week since we saw you last Monday?
Yeah, it was a good week. A lot of working and got a chance to hang out with friends over the weekend.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Yeah, so it was very relaxing.
What did you manage to do? Because it's a bit of a weird time at the moment. I don't think the government has increased the levels, but over the weekend we were seeing like 200 cases. We're still at level 1 though, so you can pretty much officially do anything, right? As long as you've got a mask and you're cleaning your hands and keeping socially distant, right?
Yeah, exactly. It almost feels normal, which can be a good thing, but also a bad thing, because then people can let their guards down. But, you know, Korea's doing such a great job with check-ins and QR codes and just making sure everyone's distant. So, yeah, we safely met up and hung out. It was only a couple of us.
Yeah, I went yesterday. My mask. My producer's reminding me right now as we talk about COVID
The
spreading.
irony.
Goodness gracious, silly me. How am I going to do that? I can take out my earphones. And for anyone who's listening, you may not know, we do wear masks when the guests are in the studio, but the audio is not too different. And I see, I've just hit the refresh button that the new cases are out today. And again, it's over 200 for 3 days straight. Stronger virus curbs seriously considered. Surely, yeah, because we've got that new 5-tier system now. So 1.5 isn't too much difference.
Right. And I can't help but to compare the number of cases we're tackling, and it's rising in Korea, but when I compare it to my home country, this is absolutely nothing.
Are you still getting like tens of thousands?
Well, we're shattering our records every day, it seems like, and so we're above 180,000 for one day.
So it's not even tens of thousands, it's hundreds of thousands.
Man. Yeah, we crossed that line about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, the 100K mark. So it's,
Let's not panic then in Korea.
Right.
Calm down.
But I like the fact that Korea, even with 200 cases or when it's in triple digits, they take it so seriously. And that's why we're doing so well here.
Yeah. The other day in the UK, they had more cases and more deaths in one day than we'd had totally. And that kind of brought it home for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's just insane. Today's hashtag before we tackle our video is calendar or 달력. Do you have a calendar on your desk, Cedric? Are you one to use one?
I have one on my desktop, on my computer, and my phone. I don't have a physical one, but I used to use a calendar.
Do you use your digital one?
I do.
All your schedules and stuff?
I do, yes. I mean, I have it here, and I usually have it filled up if I'm responsible enough. But let's see. Yeah, as you can see, it's nice and colorful there. I'm showing Peter the calendar.
I like it that it's all kind of color-coded.
Yeah. So I have different categories. And so, and the empty spots are usually more flexible. I'm usually editing or something.
Okay.
But if I'm responsible, I'll block in the time there.
If I didn't have my phone on me, I would not know what I was supposed to do that day. Like, I rely on that so religiously. And luckily, it's like all synced with the laptop and stuff like this. I don't know what I'd do without that. And I used to do it in a paper calendar, but then I'd leave it somewhere and I wouldn't have it for a day. And I'd be like, this is useless. Like, I know it's traditional and it's nice to have something physical, but yeah, it doesn't beat a digital calendar, in my opinion.
Same.
Today's topic, where have we sent you, Cedric?
Well, we're going to another traditional market here in Seoul, and this time it's Tongin Market, which is kind of near Gyeongbokgung Palace, Gwanghwamun area.
Okay, so it's in that touristy district anyway. You don't have to go out your way to get there.
Right.
Are you someone who frequents markets at all, like the shijangs, in your normal daily life?
I would if it was closer to my neighborhood. I mean, I have one that's, maybe 2 subway stops away.
Okay.
I love going to markets because I just love the type of foods that they have there.
Yeah, the vibe there is also much more kind of community friendly rather than a Cold Stone supermarket building, right? But like you, I'm the same. If there was one within walking distance, I think I'd go often to do just the grocery shopping.
Right.
But for me as well, it's at least a subway stop and a half, if that makes sense. I'd have to walk quite far to my subway station, then go a stop and walk over again. And when we do sometimes go there, yeah, it's nice to buy one or two things, but then if you've got loads to lug back with you to your house, it's not really practical, is it? To anyone who's lucky enough to live near a market, please do send us in your photos and your videos. That would be lovely. So what are we going to see in your first vid?
So in the first video, this market is very much known for their lunchbox cafe. So you're able to make your own lunchbox using traditional coins. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like.
Okie dokie. Okay. Oh, it's kind of hidden entrance there in among the buildings.
It is, right. So just a general view. And so, you know, a lot of these markets do look very similar.
And this one is like the similar style of being covered, right?
Right.
In there. Okay.
So the second floor is where you go up if you want to get your lunchbox. So they give you these trays, and for 5,000 won, you can get 10 coins.
Oh, little
to
tokens.
use.
So
little
to speak.
tokens, yes.
They're cool. They look like the old Korean money.
Right. And so I'm working on filling my tray up. So these little signs above the carts, you'll know that they'll take the tokens. Most of them take it, but not all of them.
All right. And then you can just wander around, see what takes your fancy.
Right.
And instead of paying money, you hand over the tokens.
Exactly. So this is...
치킨하고 김치전 주시겠어요?
Yeah.
Chicken and kimchi pancakes.
Yeah. I mean, so the
Wow.
thing about lunchboxes here, you can have the most random things.
All together.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, so I couldn't pass up on this.
Well, how many tokens was that?
So that was 4 tokens.
Okay, that's the majority.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it looks like a lot of food.
I didn't ration my tokens well. So I got some huge mayak kimbaps and then some tteokbokki there. And I spent all my tokens. And so I was like, oh man, I already spent it all.
But that was all 5,001.
Yeah, 5,001 total.
That's not
so if you
bad
think
at
about
all.
it, one token is 501. So you can literally have something that is, you know, quite filling for 1 or 2 tokens, to be honest.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's a full-on meal, a hearty meal for what? $3.50, $4, something like that. Looks good. And that's what it's famous for, right? Most.
Yes.
There are other vendors in there, but it's mostly like the food places.
Right. So I think that market is more focused on the food, but they do have other vendors that sell other items, clothing things, jewelry, things like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was there that I went to because, again, it was that kind of entrance that I suddenly just stumbled across and I was out with the kids and the missus and then we just went in and there was a lunchbox with the coins. I don't think there are other markets. There might be that have copied it because it's been very successful, right?
Right.
And there's so much to see and it's a bit of a maze in there, right? Because you kind of come into this covered area and then there's one branch that goes to left and right and all sorts.
Right.
But the food items you chose looks pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, my food wasn't, or my lunchbox wasn't super colorful because I tend not to get like the panchan or side dishes, which I need to. You know, I need
The
to
more
eat the vegetables.
vegetably rooty things, right?
Right. But there are many different types of foods that you'll find here. And you'll find these at a lot of different markets. But there's one food that I want to point out, and that is the girim tteokbokki, which is like the fried oil rice cakes.
So we've talked about tteokbokki so much on the show. That's usually with a bit of spicy, kind of soupy sauce on these little rice cakes. But you're talking about girim as in oil tteokbokki.
Right. So basically, and I showed it briefly on there. I didn't get any, and then the writer scolded me for it. So I felt very sorry. I should have tried it, but it does look really good. And so basically, it's a big, I guess, a saute type of pan, and then they just have the oil in there, and then they put the rice cakes in there. Now you can get the spicy version or the non-spicy. Yeah, and it's apparently really good.
The spicy version, instead of like a soupy sauce, it's kind of got just little bits of red paste in it.
Right.
And I did have it when I went because I heard it was famous. I'm going to be honest, it's not as good as the soupy one. Because the soupy one is like everyone's favourite comfort food for a reason. It's different and it's kind of cool because it's a bit more crunchy on the outside.
Right.
Because it's fried in the oil. But not too crunchy. It's not like deep fried.
Sure.
And then it's chewy and it's a bit spicy with that. And I guess if you just fancy a change because you're a bit bored of normal tteokbokki, I might recommend it. But I would say if you had to have that for the rest of your life, you would not choose that style. You'd choose the regular style over it. Has that coin program been there for ages? Because it looks like coins from back in the Joseon Dynasty.
It does, right? And I'm sad to say that these aren't actually back from that time period, but it is modeled after that sort of system. And actually, this market introduced that coin system back in 2011.
Okay.
So almost 10 years they've been doing this, and it's a good way to just sort of, I guess, gain attraction for especially tourists and even locals to come and just pay for their food differently.
It's a fun thing to do, isn't it? Yeah, because there's no real meaning behind it. You could just pay with cash wherever you go, but just getting the lunchbox and the coins makes you feel like you're on an adventure almost. Josh saying, too bad for the market though, isn't it? By the time you get all your food, then the food you got first is maybe cold when you go to eat it.
Oh, that's a good. I'll address that in the second corner. How about that? I got something for you, Josh.
We're going to get to our mukbang. I'm looking forward to it. So let's play Pang Myung-soo featuring Kim Ye-rim and UL. 명순의 떡볶이, 명수's 떡볶이. Back for part 2 of K-Patch with Cedric in the studio talking about Tongin Market located around the kind of Gwanghwamun, Gyeongbokgung area. Yeah, that's when I remember stumbling into it, so it must be the same one. Famous for its coin and lunchbox system. And we got some messages to read out. Faz saying the tokens look like the nyang from way back then, maybe in the Joseon Dynasty. But I remember coming to Korea in the 80s, and there were still some coins in circulation that had a hole in it.
Oh.
Like either they were recently out of circulation or they were still just about in circulation. And it was maybe for, I don't know what amount of currency, maybe around 10 won or something like that. We still have the Shibwon coins, right? Those tiny, useless ones that you can't buy.
It's so annoying. It's like the American penny. Oh, so annoying.
There's nothing you can do with that either, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Siska says, I went there one time talking about Tongin Market. It's a nice market, but we don't have this type of market here. And she says, with lots of exclamation points, mayak gimbap and tteokbokki, which is what I got on my plate.
Oh.
And she said the fried tteokbokki is her favorite. So she really loves it. But let me tell you something that you cannot do with the fried tteokbokki that you could do with the regular one.
Yeah.
You take mayak gimbap or any gimbap for this all intents and purposes, you could dip it into the tteokbokki sauce.
That's the best.
That's a power tip for you guys.
You need to use that sauce. You need to utilize it. I'd say drinking it with a spoon is a bit over the top.
A little bit. It's not a real soup.
You need to dip something in it, yeah. And the kimbap, you're right, that just makes it perfect. Although the Maya kimbap, the drug kimbap, because it's so addictive, it does have its own like sauce, which is kind of the famous part, right? The kind of soy sauce with kyoja, the mustard, or wasabi, you might know it as. Rao says, what I would do is just get this food served and eat it straight away. Maybe not wait till you filled it up if you want it nice and like fresh, I suppose.
That's possible. I'm sure people do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sophie says, I saw the view about the market on Crush, and I saw a lot of delicious food in that coin market.
Well, Cedric showed us a lot of it. I don't know what it was, but it looked like some kind of egg dish, like some kind of omelette thing that was in there. That would take my fancy.
Oh, you like that stuff, huh?
I do.
Yeah, it's really good. I didn't get it, but it's good.
Josh also says if the coins were real back from the Joseon Dynasty, everyone would just take them. Yeah, it would kind of defeat the object. You'd pay for something more expensive and you would probably just keep it as a souvenir, right? Rising, picking up on this, Cedric, what's the difference between a regular tip and a power tip?
Oh, wow. A power tip is something that's like mind-blowing, or that totally 10x's your life.
It will change your life,
yes.
Seriously. A regular tip is like wear a scarf in the autumn time, it's not really going to change your life.
Right.
Let's get on to your second video then, Cedric. What are we going to see here?
All right, we're going to go up to the actual cafe seating area and you're going to watch me eat.
Lovely jubbly. What I've always wanted to do. So it's still open, the upstairs cafe area?
It is, yes. Okay. And there's actually 2 floors. So as we're queuing it up, and then we're going to address Josh's concern about the food.
Oh, okie dokie. Well, let's check out your second video. We're just lining it up on the computer now. Here we go. Up the steps. So is it the same place where you got the lunchbox from?
Yeah, it is. So it's basically just a second floor part, and there's plenty of seating. And you see those microwaves there, Josh? That is it. You can heat up your food if you like.
We do often have microwaves in public spaces in Korea for like baby food and stuff like that, but you can obviously put in adult food there.
Right.
Water dispensers always available, so you never have to pay for water. Oh, it looks good though.
Yeah.
You didn't heat it up.
I did not.
Okay.
I just wanted to eat it. Yeah,
So
and
that's
it was
the
fine.
Fried chicken, is it?
Right.
Tteokbokki.
Tteokbokki, and then so I don't want to bore you guys too much with just me eating. So obviously I eat through everything, and then you have to put everything up. So they have a nice little system because Korea's really good with recycling. And so this is just where you put everything when you're done.
Yeah, you have to throw away the excess food, which then goes into the food waste, and then recycle, and then put the forks and the spoons and the chopsticks separate. Although I think there is, in Korea, a chronic lack of forks. Like, you'll have to ask if you want them for people who are bad with chopsticks. But most places will have them, just not as many as the chopsticks and the spoons, right?
Right.
Looking good. That is exactly the same place that I went to. And I remember going there, and it was a weekend. This is pre-corona, so it was really busy. And I was actually surprised how little seating there is, considering the size of the market and tourists that go there, right? But I think, like you said, there's another floor where you can go and eat, right?
Right. So there is a third floor, and the room is a little bit bigger. There's more seating, and I didn't show it because there were so many people there, and I just didn't feel comfortable filming. But yeah, there is extra seating.
It's quite basic as well, from what I remember.
Yeah,
right?
it's just a room with tables.
There's nothing really
Nothing special.
We managed to snag the table. There's one in the corner of that third floor where they got like leather sofas, but it means it's a bit uncomfortable. You know, when you're sitting on a low sofa and then there's a table in front of you, your kind of stomach is right up against your knees. And we were eating with my uncle there, and I thought, this is a weird place to eat, because I wish they'd maybe designed it so there's enough seating. But like you said, this is a relatively new concept, so the tourist numbers keep increasing every year, perhaps. They haven't dealt with that, right? We've got some more information about Tongin Market, and we'd love to see anything similar, anything linked to this. So it could be somewhere where you can have a lunchbox. It could be somewhere that's just a traditional market. You can send us photos and videos. And I wanted to pick up on Siska's point, saying there's nothing like this in Indonesia. Yeah, I've not been to another market where you have this lunchbox and then you can fill it up with all these different snacks, right? Does that thing kind of exist anywhere that you've been, Cedric?
I don't know. I mean, they're probably more specialized places that only either locals know about or it's just more closed off from the public. But I don't think so. The only closest thing I can remember is maybe big gatherings back home, like with my mom's maybe friends or like big church groups, and they would have that sort of style because everyone would cook, and then you could just kind of grab what you want. So that's the only thing that I've experienced.
Yeah, because here in Korea, is it the same in the States with the school meal trays? They've got all these little segments where you have things dolloped on in this little segment, and then the soup over here and stuff like that. Is that the same in the States?
It is, but my school, you didn't have the option like buffet style to pick what you wanted. They just gave you whatever they served that day.
They just chucked it on, yeah. And thinking back to the UK, in primary school it was like that. But most markets, I think, around the world, like, you just buy from each and you just get your food packaged in whatever they're giving it to you.
Right.
It's just kind of a simple difference, but one that makes it feel more fun, I think, that lunchbox, right?
Right.
Tongin Market in itself, I mean, has it got a long history?
Yeah, so this market actually dates back to June 1941.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and this was a public market that was set up for actually Japanese residents near Hyoja-dong neighborhood when Korea was still under the Japanese rule.
Okay.
So it really does have a history there.
It's from the colonial times then, wow.
Right, so after the Korean War, the nation experienced a swift rise in population, which led to a natural increase in consumption of food, of course, and demand. So as a result, the street vendors and stores used former Tongin Market area as their marketplace.
How many stores are we talking in there? Because it's hard to get the size, because it just looks like a doorway to a random alley.
Right. So there are about 80 stores now. Yeah, most are restaurants, as we mentioned, but there are other types of stores. But if you really want to go to the market for like clothes shopping or getting like traditional Korean type of knickknacks, this is probably not the best market to go to for that.
No, it's just got random other stores. There was a place that sold like knickknacks for the kids, like a few toys and stuff, which was just randomly in between restaurants.
Right.
Well, how about the opening hours for anyone who's planning on visiting?
Sure. So the market itself is open from 7 a.m. to 9, which varies by store, but the Lunchbox Cafe isn't open until 11 a.m.
Okay.
Right. And then they're closed. They close at about 5 to 6. I think it depends on the season. But actually, prior to me going, I called because I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And the lady said that if you want to go to the cafe, it's best to come before 3.
Oh, just in case.
Yeah, I think because a lot of the food will probably be gone or some of the vendors will probably pack up and be done for the day.
I think the lunchtime rush is maybe their peak, except for maybe weekends when it could be different. Is it closed at all?
Yeah, so the actual Lunchbox Cafe is closed on Mondays, so don't go on a Monday. You'll be
Lots of
disappointed.
things are closed on Mondays in Korea, like after the weekend rush. So, yeah,
Right.
maybe some museums as well, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
the market itself is also closed.
The third Sundays of every month.
Okie doke. Well, I wonder if the Lunchbox Cafe, maybe that means just the area where you can sit is closed on a Monday, or maybe the vendors.
Well, I believe the vendors, that includes the vendors.
Yeah, then the rest of the market, there wouldn't be much open, would there?
Right,
So
so
don't go on Mondays.
It would be probably quite boring and not much to see and do.
Okie dokie. We're going to be back with some of your photos and your videos. I see we've got some coming already. If you haven't sent stuff in, Kakao Talk, search out Daily K and press send with photos or videos. Here's Red Velvet now. Taste. Back for part 3 of K-Patch with Cedric in the studio talking about Tongin Market, and we've got some messages to read out and then some of your photos and videos to show as well. Sarah Louise Walsh saying we've got that now in Wembley, those little black lunch boxes. Oh really? Because Wembley is famous in the UK for being the site of the stadium for the national football team, soccer team. We do actually confusingly have American football games there as well. You know, they do a little tour now in different countries, and there'll be like an actual NFL game in London for some unknown reason.
That's random.
And they have it in Wembley, and it gets packed out actually. There aren't any American football teams in the UK, obviously, but still some fans of it go and watch. And it's famous also for its market there. They used to have a market where you could get questionable goods, like some fake stuff, I remember when I was younger. Not so much now. I didn't know they had a lunchbox scheme, though. That's pretty cool. Thanks for the message, Sarah.
Very cool. Joshua Lee says, we have farmers markets in St. Louis, but nothing like this, unless you have festivals at local churches. And yes, farmers markets were definitely a thing in North Carolina too, where I grew up. And so I just remember the farmers markets, just as it sounds, you get a lot of produce and fruits there. And
they just rock up to like a local high street or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just really depends. And most of the time these are locally grown produce and goods. So you know that you're getting, in theory, healthy stuff.
Yeah, there was the same in the UK, like locally produced things they'd have on the streets. Usually it would be a little pricier than maybe going to the supermarket, but you'd be kind of supporting your local farmers.
Right.
But I wonder if in New York, like in London, like a big city, they have a few iconic markets there. Like Borough Market is one of my favorites. And it's been kind of gentrified over the years. So it used to be like a proper of the people. Now, yeah, I guess it's not great in one way because it maybe prices out normal people. They've got like loads of trendy, boutique-y kind of eateries in there, and people go there for lunch from the financial district, you know, so you have a sandwich that might cost, I don't know, 10,000 won or something.
Right.
But it's really a good place for tourists to visit as well. Do they have that in New York, like some kind of markets and stuff?
You know, they do. I don't remember visiting many of them, and I can't think of any names, but there are places like that where you'll have locally grown produce, not necessarily in the city, but in the nearby area.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of fresh, the only thing I remember is like a lot of fresh food. And they'll have these little, I guess lack of a better word, like buffet style things that they have at the market.
That
So
you could kind of take and pick and choose.
yeah, so it's kind of like a lunchbox in that you can just, and they weigh your food after you pick whatever you pick, and that's how they base the price off of it.
Yeah, that's maybe one thing we don't have in Korea, that kind of boutique-y market kind of vibe. And also, like local fairs. I know Josh mentioned local churches, but just having local fairs and fun fairs and carnivals, we don't really have that kind of vibe here in Korea.
Right.
We've got a lot more, I guess, modern food courts and stuff in department stores, right? Samantha says from Australia, there is Queen Victoria Market, popular in Melbourne. I don't have any photos of it, but I checked it out online and it looks huge. Wowzers. That looks like a really traditional building as well that it is housed in, and then lots of actual fruit and veg and meats. Tongin Market is not so much this, right? Not so much the produce side, but like the finished kind of products to eat.
Right.
Okay.
More snack and actually like food items.
Nice. Let's get on to our listener content now in terms of photos and videos. Sophie got in touch with us from Kinabalu saying these are some of our market photos. It is a late entry for K-Patch, and here in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, we have a market that sells almost everything from local vegetables right through to home appliances as well. That is a rather big category of things to sell at a market. Seems like you got those red lanterns, which are often associated with like Lunar New Year and stuff. I wonder if that's for luck and prosperity. Jewelry as well. Did they have like an outdoor area at all at Tongin Market?
Not that I noticed. I mean, but there were like little nooks and alleyways, but not from what I could see.
Yeah, from what I remember as well, no matter how far I followed those alleys, I couldn't actually see the sky completely. Like there would be either a glass roof or something above my head, right?
Right.
You said also that place was originally named Bond Street, now Gaia Street, which comes the name Sunday Gaia Street. It's in the middle of the city, and this stretch of road has been the center of our business for hundreds of years. Oh, interesting to know.
Yeah, rich history there.
I guess Tongin Market must be there because of the palace in Gwanghwamun as well, maybe, and then the neighborhood that the Japanese people lived in, like you said earlier, Cedric.
Yeah, that sounds like it would make sense. And now we have one from Siska, and she says that since we don't have any similar markets like in Tongin Market in Indonesia, which uses coins for payment, she's just going to share some photos of Tongin Market here in Seoul.
You've been to Korea many times.
Yes.
Oh, I see. That's the tteokbokki.
And she's tried it and she loves it, of course. So she just wants to share these photos, and the fried tteokbokki, of course, very, very famous. She really, really loves Tongin Market, and those tteok cakes with fruits is love.
Yeah, you looked at the actual rice cakes, like the traditional kind of dessert style, and then giant strawberries as well. It is definitely a tourist hotspot to go to. When I was there, again, pre-COVID times, it was filled with like tourists in their 20s just taking photos of absolutely everything. We got another one from Ing as well in Malaysia saying, I went to 통인시장 almost exactly 6 years ago, November 15th, 2014. Oh, really? Yesterday, 6 years ago. I love the experience and would love to revisit. Oh, and you took a photo of the coins for 5,001 in the box, and then also your treats. She got the egg thing.
Oh, yeah.
What is the egg thing? Tell me.
It's
I
like
need
the
to
egg
know.
omelet looking thing.
Yeah, it must be filled with something. And then some japchae as well, the glass noodles. That's quite traditional.
Oh, and she's got the kimchi-jeon.
Oh, yeah, same as you. I don't know what chon that is next to that. It looks like a more savory one. And then a rice ball with a maybe layer of seaweed on top. And some udon, it looks like, the thick noodles in the bowl.
Now, that looks like a way more balanced meal than what I got. So that looks delicious.
Doesn't it? Maybe some less carbs in that one. Lovely stuff. And then, Ingyin, also, you went a bit further afield. You said, I love visiting markets when I travel. This market is one we went to in Paris. The pastries were divine. I didn't know, actually... Oh, wow, look at that. And all the cheeses, all the dried cured meats. That would be delicious, wouldn't it? And I think the pastries coming up. Wowzers. Although, having said that, Cedric, don't you think the amount of bakeries and the amount of bakeries that do really lovely looking desserts in Korea is quite insane, considering we don't have like a bread history here?
That's very true.
Yeah, lots of calories to be put on wherever you head in Korea, I think. And you also said you didn't know about the Tongin Market dining area that Cedric showed. It looks so clean and comfy. I just crouched outside the market.
Oh, no.
Quickly finished my meal because I hate eating alone. To be honest, from what I remember as well, it's not very well signposted that thing is there because it's like you said on the second and third floors where there's not really a market, right?
Right, and I believe that probably at the time that you went, where you actually pay for your coins and retrieve them, were in a different location, whereas now it's actually in the cafe area, so you can't miss it. You need to go up there to get your coins.
Is that well signposted? Like if you didn't know that you had to go and get the lunchbox and coins, was it like, come here, this is the first stop kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's all in Korean, so if you're able to manage to read through that, then you'll know it's on the second floor.
Okay, and then you'll know that that's where you come back to eat because it looks like a dining area, I suppose, right?
Right.
We've also got one more from Siska in Indonesia. Wow, these are floating markets there. You can find this type of market apparently in Thailand also. Literally people selling their goods on boats and little boats at that.
That is so awesome.
I'd love to go there, but I'd be so worried about falling in. Like, what if you want to get to a vendor in the middle of all those boats? What do you do?
I know. So I guess on the front line, those vendors are quite lucky.
Yeah, or maybe they do like pass the parcel. They like say, okay, here's your melon, and they just pass it along. Oh, that is unique. We don't have anything like that in Korea as far as I'm aware. Cedric, thank you so much for coming in with Tongin Market. What's next week's topic?
Well, you guys are going to see me make some kimchi for the first time.
Have you never made kimchi?
I've never made
And we're
kimchi.
Making you do it?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a good idea. Maybe we can taste the end results as well, Cedric, if you bring it in.
Okay.
If it's edible. Have a great week.
Have a good week, everyone.
Let's play a song request from Raul in Argentina now. This is Angmu with Time and Fallen Leaves. 시간과 낙엽.